Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for December 29th, 2025. Knocking off 2025, folks. Good to see you. Here's my latest cartoon here, my latest video cartoon titled, and here we have Richard's. I know you can't read it, so I'm going to make it very clear in my speech here to what how it goes. Richard's Trump Retribution statue at the Trump-Kennedy Center in response to critics of its name change. So this is President Trump's Retribution statue in response to people who have been critical of the board that he appointed changing the name of the Kennedy Center to the Trump Kennedy Center. So people have been critical of that, and this is President Trump's Retribution statue in response to that criticism. There it is, Kennedy, with President Kennedy and Trump, and this is like the Statue of Liberty here, and we'll get to that in a little while. Okay? And it goes like this. Yeah. I'll get the whole thing in for you. Okay. Richard's Trump Retribution statue at the Trump Kennedy Center in response to critics of its name change. Given the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. recently underwent its name change to the Donald J. Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. Okay, and there it is here. For the Performing Arts. Okay. With the addition of President Trump's name after he gained control of the board by firing members and replacing them with allies. Given this change in late 2025, a few weeks ago, sparked legal challenges and backlash that included outrage from some members of the Kennedy family and Democratic Ohio Congresswoman Joyce Beatty's legal challenge. She made a legal challenge here. From this lady from Ohio's Congresswoman. She made this legal challenge that in 1964, following the assassination of President John Kennedy, Congress intended the center to be a living memorial to him. And the addition of Trump to its name is therefore, quote, this is quoting her, a flagrant violation without congressional approval to reverse it. Since Congress already did this, it would take another act of Congress to change the name. That's what that's her legal argument, okay? Without congressional approval, it's a flagrant violation, quote. And performances at the center have been canceled in protest to the change. As an example, the Christmas Eve performance was canceled as a result of a jazz musician or singer, somebody associated with that jazz performance canceled, and the performance had to be canceled as a result of he was protesting the name change, and that's why he didn't show up, and it had to be canceled, that Christmas Eve program at the center. Given President Trump stated he was, quote, surprised at its board vote to add his name. So you could make it that goes two ways, that he was surprised that they not only they added his name, but that they didn't replace his name and just take off Kennedy's name and put his name there and make it the Trump, the President Donald J. Trump Kennedy Center, not Kennedy, the President Donald J. Trump Center for the Performing Arts. So maybe he was surprised that they kept the name Kennedy there. They didn't just wipe that out altogether and make it the Trump Center. It's a little bit of a joke, but he was surprised. I don't see why he should be so surprised if he appointed the board and they made him chairman already. They voted to make him chairman, so this was the next step. So, but he said I was very surprised. Okay, all right. So there you have that. Okay, and White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said in a post on X, this is direct to what she said. Congratulations to President Donald J. Trump and likewise to President Kennedy, because they will be a truly great team long into the future. So Caroline Leavitt saying that the Trump Kennedy Center with Trump and Kennedy name, their spirits will work together as a great team in the long-term future. So that got me to thinking. I'm old enough to remember President John F. Kennedy's The New Frontier. That was the theme of his administration, called The New Frontier. You know, Johnson had the Great Society. Kennedy had the New Frontier. In those days, there was... So here is an excerpt from Kennedy's New Frontier here.
But the new frontier of which I speak is not that abundant. It is a set of challenges. It's not what I intend to offer to the American people, but what I intend to ask of them. It appeals to their pride. It appeals to our pride, not our security. It holds out the promise of more sacrifice instead of more security. The new frontier is here, whether we seek it or not. Beyond that frontier are uncharted areas of science and space, unsolved problems of peace and war, unconquered province of ignorance and prejudice, unanswered questions of poverty and surplus. It would be easier to shrink from that new frontier, to look to the safe mediocrity of the past, to be lulled by good intentions and high rhetoric, and those who prefer that course should not vote for me or the Democratic Party.
That was President Kennedy's introducing his new frontier. And that was President Kennedy introducing his new frontier as contrasted with President Trump. So it's given the history of this first year, it's hard for me to imagine how that would work out. But that's what Caroline Levitt said. They're going to make a great team. So I threw Kennedy's New Frontier introduction into that, and you decide how you want to view that. And here is the punchline to the cartoon. Here it is. And here is President Donald J. Trump in front of his Retribution statue, in front of this institution here that it was renamed with the Donald J. Trump here. There it is. Donald J. Trump and President John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And here is President Trump now, and he's saying, this is what he's saying here. He's announcing this statue, and there is Kennedy here. You just saw him. There is Kennedy with President Kennedy, with President John F. Kennedy, with President Donald J. Trump as a statue, like the Statue of Liberty here. And he's saying, this will be the Statue of Liberty for our America's performing arts. So this is going to be the Statue of Liberty and liberate the performing arts for America. And he's going to do it his way with the performing arts. And there you have it. There was President Donald J. Trump here in front of the Retribution statue, the Retribution statue here, and here he is, and there it was, the new name for the institution, and there you have it. So I just zoom in here again. There was President Kennedy, President Trump, and here he is in true form here. And there it goes. All right, thank you for watching my video. God bless you. Hang in there, and I'll see you next year. Wishing you all the best for 2026. Take care, folks, and hang in there. Bye.